I remember when my teacher ends up coming up into my bedroom and she walks over to me saying, Bubba, I'm sorry. I wish I could make things better. And that's where one thing led to another. She ended up getting closer and closer and made me fail No Nut November from doing the Devil's Tango. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another embarrassing but crazy story. Now, as you guys may know, it is officially November, meaning that it is time for No Nut November, and hopefully people watching this video actually participate. Seriously, No Nut November is a really big deal, because you gotta understand, this is where we manage to hold in our testosterone and become men. It's a funny thing, actually. Back when I was in high school, and this was actually around my grade 9 year, I remember I was walking down the school hallway, and this was before I really understood No Nut November. Like, I always knew it was like a special thing that guys would do, but honestly, I didn't know too much about it until I ended up going to the school cafeteria and I sat down with the group that I called the boys. I mentioned them in many story times on this channel, but basically I remember I was sitting with them and we were all talking about all the things we want to do this weekend. But then one of the guys ended up saying, oh yeah, I'm planning on hanging out with like my girlfriend. And that's when my other friend ended up saying to him, oh, okay, but make sure you don't fail No Nut November, bro. You gotta understand, this is the time for us boys to make sure we don't nut. I remember at that moment, I ended up looking at him and I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, we can't do anything? No, Bubba, obviously not, bro. You don't want to fail. What happens if you fail? Oh, nothing. You just become less of a man. Now, at that moment, I didn't understand how until he ended up telling me the full-on rules of No Nut November. And for those of you guys who don't know the full-on rules, let me give you a quick rundown. So every year when November comes, you have a choice between one of two things. One is No Nut November, and two is Movember. And the way you'll get to decide is basically how much of a man you want to be. So if you're able to not grow a beard, then you would only participate in No Nut November. But if you're man enough to grow a beard, then it would be Movember, where you would grow your beard out without touching it or shaving it down whatsoever. But now you guys are probably wondering, wait, what if you participate in both? Well, that is the ultimate goal of becoming the Ultraman. Basically, think of Goku in his final form. If you were to participate in No Nut November and Movember, that would basically mean you are the alpha male. I remember my friend ended up explaining that to me, and that's when I ended up telling him, wait, what? Bro, I can't grow a beard. My beard barely grows in. Okay, well, you know what that means, Bubba. That means you gotta participate in No Nut November. And since luckily that day was November 1st, I remember I ended up participating in my first No Nut November. And I gotta say, it got really difficult. Because you gotta understand, back when I was in high school, I was hitting puberty. So I guess doing the Devil's Cream was like almost a daily activity for me before I went to bed. So knowing I couldn't do it, I always tried to distract myself. It even got to the point where I remember after like 3 nights of not, doing the Devil's Cream, I ended up laying in bed and not able to pass out. It got so bad to the point where I had to watch YouTube videos just to fall asleep. And there was even one night where I ended up staying awake the entire night without falling asleep once. No joke, the amount of Red Bull and energy drinks I drank that day was toxic. But obviously things got harder and harder as the days went on. And it got to the point where I started to find the littlest things super attractive. Like for example, when my crush would end up using her pencil and the way she held it got me excited. And I remember as I was walking through a dog park and I ended up seeing a woman like trying to grab her dog, I got kind of turned on by it. It was really gross, and don't get me wrong, it sounds totally disgusting, but you gotta understand, back when I was in grade 9, I was hitting hormones, okay? And honestly, like hitting puberty and all my hormones, it just really built into me to the point where I'm not gonna lie, I had no self-control. There was even one night where I was so close to breaking because I was watching a movie and there was a scene where a couple did the Devil's Tango, and the amount of power it took not to pause the film and quickly just do it once literally was killing me. But obviously I wanted to become the Mega Man, the alpha male that, won No Nut November. So I remember I decided to hold back and basically not do it until a couple weeks went by. I remember it was the 3rd week of November, and I was still holding strong. Some of my friends ended up failing, but I was holding my ground. I even had a little bit of stubble that I grew on my face, so I guess I was participating in Movember as well. So I was en route to becoming the alpha male. But this is where everything goes bad, because I remember since I was so focused on not beating my meat and doing the Devil's Cream, it became harder and harder to focus on other things that were actually important in my life. Like for example, school. Since I was participating in No Nut November, every time I would walk into this classroom, I would end up seeing my teacher, and my teacher would always wear the most tightest outfits. Like no joke, it got to the point where I was convinced she was wearing a corset. But I remember she would basically show up to school every single time in the most tightest of outfits ever. And since I would see her figure, I ended up getting bricked. And it was so hard to just focus on just the schoolwork that I just kept having my eyes on her. And since I couldn't focus, I started to fail her class. It got so bad to the point where she'd always try talking to me after class, but I would always end up leaving and sneaking out of there before she could ever talk to me, because there was no way I was gonna do the devil's cream in my pants mid-conversation with my teacher. And as I would keep doing this over and over and keep failing the class even worse, it got to a day where I remember I ended up coming home from school and going up to my room playing Call of Duty. This was the only time where I could actually keep my mind on something else and just play video games. Until I remember out of nowhere, the doorbell ended up ringing. And I was super confused on what was going on and why my doorbell rang, because we weren't expecting anyone to come over. And then I remember as I ended up going down the stairs and answering the door, I ended up seeing it was my teacher. I ended up looking at her and I'm like, what are you doing here? Baba, I need to talk to your parents. You keep ditching me and I need to speak to them about what's going on. I don't think now's a good time. Why? What's going on? And then that's when my mom ended up coming around the corner saying, Baba, who's this lady? Oh, this is my teacher. She's just leaving. She just wanted to hand in some assignments for me. Baba, no, I'm not. Can I speak with you, please? Is what she says to my mom. And I remember her and my mom ended up going to the living room and having a conversation. And I can tell things went from terrible to worse, because as I'm just sitting there, when they're having a conversation about me failing my class, I remember my mom looks at me in pure anger. And that's when I went upstairs and just decided to ignore everything that's going on. And as my mom and my teacher kept having that conversation about me failing, I just stayed in my room and started playing Call of Duty once again, to the point where my mom actually ended up coming up the stairs afterwards and grabbing my Xbox controller and saying to me, Baba, you're going to sit here and work with your teacher and talk out a plan to make sure you pass the grade. You understand me? Okay, is what I told her. And then afterwards, my teacher ends up walking in. My teacher walks in saying, Baba, I'm so sorry I had to end up like this. Like, I just tried to get your attention, but you wouldn't listen to me. No, I get it. Like, you gotta understand, it's just been hard for me, that's all. What's been hard? And in my mind, I was thinking my eggplant, obviously. But obviously, I didn't want to say that to her because it was my teacher. But then that's when I ended up telling her, oh, like, me and my friends have been, like, super focused on this game. And, like, I don't know, I just haven't been focusing on my schoolwork. She ended up looking at me and saying, oh, do you mean, like, your video games? No, it's more of a mental game than anything. And that's when me and her sat down next to each other. And she looks at me and says, well, is there any way I can help you, you know, just get you out of the game? I mean, there is, but I don't really want to talk about it. Well, no, tell me, like, what can I do? And that's when I ended up telling her the rules of No Nut November. Yeah, I was really embarrassed telling her about it, but she apparently didn't mind it. And well, one thing led to another. She ended up reaching for my thigh and we ended up doing the devil's tango. Like, it was so weird too, because we didn't exchange any words. We just went straight to doing it. And since I finished so fast from not doing the devil's cream for like almost an entire month, she ended up looking at me saying, okay, well, now you're out of the game, so focus in school, okay? I don't have to come back and do it again. Nope, I'm already out of the game, is what I said when my hands were just a mess. And yeah, she ended up getting up and leaving. And I remember I ended up changing my clothes as fast as possible and cleaning up the place. And that's when my mom walks into the room saying, Baba, your teacher walked out of here very happy. Does that mean you guys figured it out? Yeah, we figured it out, Mom. Okay, very good. I'm gonna go downstairs, make you a grilled cheese sandwich. Good job for listening to your teacher. Yeah, thanks, Mom. I guess things work out for the best. And I remember as my mom left my room, that's when I realized I failed No Nut November because of my own teacher. Kind of insane. But I mean, hey, if you guys ever thought your teachers were attractive, follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. Now, many people like November because it's close to Christmas and everyone gets all excited and stuff. But me personally, I don't like November. Because usually in November, that's when I participate in one of two things. Number one is no shave, and the other one is No Nut November. No Nut November is basically one of the hardest things to go into because, well, let's be real here, your adrenaline starts pumping because you can't pump your eggplant. That's basically the best way to put it. Also, special announcement. I forgot to mention this, but basically, guys, I am officially live streaming on YouTube. That is right. I have made a channel called Bubba Gaming. Make sure you guys do go subscribe to it. And basically, I will be streaming on YouTube live to you guys and as well as Twitch. So make sure you guys do follow both of those and hope to see you guys at the live streams. But other than that, let's get into this crazy, insane story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story takes place back when I was 16 years old. I was 16 in high school and I was already known throughout my high school for being the ultimate F-boy. Like literally back when I was in high school, I would literally do anything that walked. walks. Like, no joke, as bad as it sounds, it was literally me. And if you guys don't know, basically on this channel, I talk about me doing the devil's tango a lot. So me doing it a lot back in high school basically put myself on a really hard reputation because a lot of girls already knew me for doing the devil's tango a lot. But here's where the crazy part happens. I remember one day when I was walking down the hallway of my school, I had a girl walk up to me randomly, and it was like the second day of November, and she came up to me saying, I bet you already lost No Nut November. What is what I told her? I didn't really know what No Nut November was when I was 16, because I'm gonna be honest here, like, who wouldn't want a nut? Anyways, I remember she said that, and I told her, what do you mean No Nut November? Is that actually a thing? And then she said, yeah, like all the cool guys do it. Like, are you not doing No Nut November, you weirdo? You can't handle it, can't you? And when she told me that, I kind of wanted to play it cool, so I'm like, oh no, what are you talking about? Like, I can definitely do it. I think you're just confused, is what I told her afterwards. I remember it was my first period of school right after I had that conversation. And when I had that conversation with that girl, it made me question if I wanted to do No Nut November. But I'm gonna be honest here, like, obviously I wasn't at the time. But then out of nowhere, I remember one of the hotter girls in our school ended up walking up to me. She walked up to me because she knew I had a reputation of doing the devil's tango all the time. And she knows also that I kind of did hit her up back in the day, but she wasn't ever really interested in me because she knew my reputation. So I considered her a loss of a girl that I could not actually do the devil's tango with. And I remember when she randomly walked up to me on my first period of class, she said, hey, so like, apparently you're not doing No Nut November. Like, what's that about? Why do you care? Is what I told her. Because I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't know why she was asking about me beating my eggplant all of a sudden when she didn't want to do anything with me at all in the first place. But then she told me this, you know what? I'm gonna be honest, guys who do No Nut November are like really cool. And then she walked away. From there, I was like, whatever, and basically ignored her. And I basically remember when lunchtime came around, I came up to my friend group and told them, like, guys, like, bro, for some reason, everyone's so on top of this No Nut November stuff. Like, it's such garbage, don't you guys think? And all the guys looked at me saying, bro, you're not doing No Nut November? And my other friend said, dude, like, you gotta do No Nut November, bro. Like, it's good for you. What? Are you guys crazy? Is what I told them. Because I'm gonna be honest, No Nut November sounded like a hoax. It sounded like a joke just for guys to be more pissed off. And did you guys know, like, it's healthy for you to beat your eggplant? Like, it is healthy for you. I remember I ended up telling them that, and they didn't really care. They said it was a part of a trend that they wanted to follow. So I remember basically I started looking at all of them, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine. I'll do No Nut November too. I remember they all looked at me and they're like, dude, you know who you are, right? I'm like, what do you mean? And then my friend said, bro, you're Bubba. Like, you always, and I mean always, do the devil's tango. Like, there's no way you can't do this. I remember I was kind of just like, bro, like, trust me, I can handle it. And when I said that, I remember out of nowhere, the same girl that met me at first period that was the hot girl that was never really interested in me came up to me saying, so I heard you're now participating. Yeah, is what I told her. And then she said, well, I mean, if you're participating, if you can handle going through all of November, then maybe I'll let you do the devil's tango with me by the time it hits December. Wait, are you serious? Is what I told her. Because I'm gonna be honest here, like, she was never really interested in me and didn't like me because of my reputation. But at the same time, I guess she was attracted to me, but she just wanted to know if I had self-control. I have no idea. But basically, when she told me that, I remember I basically went to my backpack, pulled out a piece of paper, slapped it on the table and said, you're gonna have to sign this contract saying that. All the boys were in the background going, sign it, sign it, sign it. And basically, she ended up signing a contract saying, if I could survive all of No Nut November, she would have to do the devil's tango with me. I remember everyone was freaking out when she signed it. And basically, it became a competition for me to do No Nut November and get to do the devil's tango with the hottest chick in our school if I do survive it. Now, here's where the real problem comes in. One thing everyone was right about is that I do the devil's tango a lot. Like, there's not a day where I don't think about doing it. Holy cow, that sounds really bad. I should probably get some help with that. Well, I mean, at the same time, though, this was high school, and, well, hormones are crazy back in high school, especially for me. Anyways, I remember that same day, I ended up going home, and I basically told my parents how, like, this whole trend of No Nut November was going on. And my dad started laughing. My mom thought it was, like, really funny and stuff. But I remember when I went downstairs, I officially got my devil's cream towel and basically put it in the washer and basically did not have one. Me knowing that I wouldn't have a towel under my bed whenever I needed it basically made me, like, reassure that I shouldn't be doing it in the first place. I know, kind of a weird strat. And basically prepared myself to not do any sort of beat meeting or eggplant beating for the rest of the month. I remember what I ended up doing was I ended up hopping on my Xbox and hopping on with the boys and basically distracting myself for the entire night. But then I remember when it got towards closer to the end of the night and almost to bedtime, I remember I laid down on my bed going on my phone and basically swiping surfing through Snapchat and talking to all the baddies I used to talk to back in high school. And basically, I remember I ended up getting an ad on Snapchat from the hottest girl in our school, the one that did the whole bet with me in the first place. She added me, and when she added me, I remember she ended up sending me a Snapchat with her legit cherries out. No joke, out of nowhere, this girl decides to send me her cherries, and I'm like, dude, like, that's cheating, because obviously she knows that I was attracted to her. But then she snapped me back saying, don't do anything, Bubba, or you're not ever gonna be able to hang out with these. At this point, she was teasing me. She was teasing me in my own bet. That was crazy. Honestly, I remember I was so annoyed, but I basically shut off my phone and shut it down and basically did not turn it on until the next morning. The next morning came up, and basically, I remember when I went to my bathroom and started, like, you know, basically brushing my teeth, I went on my phone and I basically saw how many photos she sent me. She sent me over 40 photos of her peaches, of her cherries, everything. Every piece of body was on my Snapchat. I didn't know what to think nor what to do. So I remember I was basically texting my friend saying, bro, this is going to be impossible. I remember this went on for, I want to say, almost 2 weeks. And on the last week of No Nut November, I remember I was really pissed off. I had no patience. I basically had a really bad temper. And let's just say I felt like a whole new man. Knowing that I didn't, you know, do any sort of devil's tango with myself or anyone else for a whole month almost was insane to me. Like, brutally insane. And I remember I was always pissed off. But then I remember towards the end of the month, the girl ended up snapping me, the hot girl that wrote the contract in the first place. And she said, hey, like, so like, I'm gonna have to like break her contract. I remember I was so pissed off. I'm like, are you serious? But you signed it. And she said, yeah, but like, I'm kind of like seeing someone now. And then I told her, well, I mean, that's tough. She ended up realizing that it was unfair for me to, like, you know, do all of No Nut November and basically her break her terms of the rules, or basically our contract, I should say. So then she told me, you know what? After school, just like meet up with me at the theater. And I ended up snapping her back saying, but the theater's closed because they're having a show soon. But then she told me once again, just trust me, meet me there. I remember I ended up going to the theater classroom that we had in our school, but it was shut down for a bit because there was like a show going on and stuff that they were preparing for. I met her in there. I remember there was like a whole set of, I guess, Princess and the Pea that was happening. And she was basically sitting on the mattress on the ground that was already in the theater room. And she basically told me, you know what? We can break your contract early. And she basically ended up pointing at the mattress that was already on the ground for Princess and the Pea. And I remember I looked at her and I'm like, right here, right now. And then she comes up to me as she grabs me and says, yes, but you cannot tell anyone we did this. You understand me? So I ended up saying, sure, I'm down. And basically, long story short, I ended up basically losing No Nut November, but at the same time winning my contract. Because I did end up doing the devil's tango with her in the theater classroom. It was kind of funny because I remember I ended up getting the devil's cream on the mattress in the, you know, Princess and the Pea, but they still used it for the show. I don't know. It was kind of funny to me. I thought I should put that in there. But I mean, other than that, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And also follow me on Instagram and join the Discord server down below. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. All right, peace out, guys.
My name is Baba. I'm still on top of the world. Devil's tango with your mother. Of course, let's go. Should I make it a story? Let's click record. Got that TikTok with 2 mil hit different with some more. She said she love me, she kept. Should I exit for sure? I got 100K for my life's work, so mama.